Welcome to Work from the Inside Out, a podcast that highlights real-life stories, practical strategies, and best practices for transitioning your career from unhappiness and dissatisfaction to fulfillment, meaning, and joy. Now here is your host, career and executive coach, Tammy Guler-Loeb.
Hey everybody, I am so pleased to introduce you to my guest today, Mark Dyck. Mark has made several uncommon choices in his life, and if all goes well, there are several more to come. After a successful corporate career in IT, sales, marketing, and service development, Mark opened Orange Boot Bakery, a neighborhood artisan bread bakery in his hometown of Regina, Saskatchewan. That's in Canada, folks. He closed the bakery in 2016 and is now pursuing several projects, including nurturing an online community of business owners called The Right Company, closing the gender wage gap and ending salary discrimination at ProsperCity, baking for a private bread club of friends and neighbors. By the way, he does that baking in his backyard. And hosting Rise Up, a podcast for bakers and bakery owners and everyone who makes the good stuff and brings it to the people. Please join me in welcoming Mark Dyck, who is joining us from his home in Regina, Saskatchewan. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, hi.
So, Mark, I wanted to talk to you today because you have made a variety of transitions and you have really been thoughtful about the decisions that you've made along the way. It's not just like you changed jobs. You really made some effort to change parts of your life and how you were feeling aligned with what you were doing. So take us back to an earlier time, maybe some of your corporate
Sure.
days, and sort of walk us through some of the transitions you have made and what some of your thinking or decisions were along the way.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be glad to. I guess the main thing is, or the first thing to start about is when I went to high school and university, all the messages that I got from my parents and my relatives and that were just get yourself a good job, get yourself a job with the government, keep your head down for 30 years, and then you'll get a pension and you'll be fine. And that was really the thing. My folks ran a small Texaco franchise, and my dad was an auto mechanic, and they were like, "Don't be doing that." So when I went to university, I drifted around a bit, wasn't sure what my major was going to be, and I found out that I was really good at computer science classes and statistics classes, and I could get good marks. And so I just kind of drifted into computer science, and I ended up that's was my degree. And I went through this co-op program where you would do work placements as you were getting your degree.
Oh, yeah.
And I started it at a provincial crown corporation called SaskTel, and we were the provincial telephone company. And at the time that I started, it was when long distance was really expensive, and the internet was something that you played around with at university, but that was it. But it was that government job, and it paid really well. And so I just stayed. I went there as a student, and I stayed, and I worked, and got a steady paycheck, and that was all there was. And then around the time that I got married and we started having kids, my wife Cindy and I started talking about, well, is this really all there is, right? Is this the path? And we really enjoyed our children, and eventually Cindy ended up staying home with the kids because we didn't like taking them to daycares and that during the day. And I was missing out on a lot of fun that they were having. And that was sort of the first time the switch flipped with me, because I went part-time at SaskTel and went down to 4 days a week just so I could spend a day with the kids, a day with Cindy, and then a day doing all that housework that you do on the weekend. And so that was kind of the genesis, right? Because right away, the company could understand that young women would ask to go part-time so they could spend more time with their kids, but couldn't. I believe I was the first man to ask for exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
But I was really good at what I did. And by that time I was doing, even though my degree was in computer science, I was much better with people than I was with technology. And so I was the guy that was explaining tech to all the clients and all the different departments.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted me to keep doing that. So I sort of had the leverage to say, okay, I'll go part-time and I'll do that. And then I got into marketing, and I got into marketing strategy and running some pretty big teams to launch new stuff. And it was fun, but I was always able to do that 4 days a week. But it wasn't that was okay. But that whole thing about, just keep your head down and wait for your pension wasn't working for me. Like, it really wasn't. So I said, well, I really want to make something amazing. I really want to, do something remarkable. If you're a Seth Godin fan at all, when he came out with that book, Purple Cow, it was like, make something remarkable. And that really got me.
Yeah.
So I had this idea. I had an idea about a bread bakery, because we didn't have good bread in town. And I was starting to get, as a hobby, really fascinated by baking.
Oh.
And so, around 2004, it was like, well, how serious are we about this? And well, in 2004, we were serious enough to go to British Columbia for a summer vacation and learn how to build a brick oven. And so I learned how to build this oven, and then 2 years later, took another summer vacation and built it in my backyard, spent a year building this thing, and then just started baking for people just on Fridays, because my Friday off from SaskTel became my Friday that I baked.
Ah.
And it kind of took off. And so then it got out of hand really quick. And at the time, it was sort of gray area legal. Could you sell bread out of your backyard? So we said, well, I guess
bread out of? Well, I guess you could.
You can make it,
right?
But, but can you sell it? Yeah,
right.
And then and so then we said, well, there's enough people interested in this. I always kind of wanted to, like I say, build something amazing and kind of run my own show. So we took the leap in 2011, or late 2010. And opened up Orange Boot Bakery. And at the time, it was the first and only artisan bread shop in our city. And we were really, really popular. We really were. It was like people came out of the woodwork, quite literally, through word of mouth, and that we never really advertised or anything, but, other than word of mouth and some free press. And we were we were off to the races. We were busy since our first day.
Wow.
And just ran like crazy people that didn't know what we were doing.
Did you know what you were running towards, though? I'm curious because, yes, you had a passion for bread baking, but big difference between having a passion for bread baking and opening up a bakery and running, a retail business, leaving a secure job,
right?
All those things. So what was it that you were running toward?
At the time, I don't know. Like, I think when you're in the middle of it, it's, can I say that I actually built this thing and that it works? That this business machine works. Are we serving the community? Are people happy with what we're making?
So those were the drivers. Those were kind of the things that were motivating you.
Yeah, I'm a real people pleaser, and at the time, almost to a fault, right? Where 1,000 people could say you're great, and one person says you suck, and that's all you think about is that one person for a month.
Yeah.
But I'm a little better at it now, but not much.
Uh-oh.
And so that was the thing. It was that sort of proving to myself that I could make something and be successful.
Yeah.
I think, though, as we got going, what I realized was that the joy that I got out of it was the connection with people. That the thread right from my first days at SaskTel to what I'm doing now is it's much more important to me who it is that I'm serving. Who are those people, and can we make, personal connections with each other more so than what it is that I'm doing almost, bread baking, like we were using local flour and we were using organic flour, and we were trying to be a positive force in the community and a positive force with the type of food we were making. We were finding we were working all, late nights, early mornings, and we were too tired to actually interconnect with our customers.
Yeah.
We'd leave by noon so we could go get some sleep and come back and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And, if we were ever there in the afternoon, people were saying, "Oh my gosh, you're finally here. We finally get to talk to you again."
So the business itself, the running of the business started to run you, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this funky situation with bakeries. There was a lot of pressure to keep on, churning out the product. When you're tired, you're churning it out. When you're not tired, it's a joy.
Right.
And
Yeah, it's
then you'd
interesting,
feel it.
huh?
Yeah, you'd feel it, and we made some decisions like not going into wholesale. We were only retail, you could only buy from our place, because we thought, well, if we go wholesale now, we have to really look at margins, and it's more about how many pounds of dough per hour can you produce or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to be measuring my staff like that. Or measuring myself like that, for that matter. So we tried to find another way.
So it sounds like, though, through the process, even before you opened the bakery, that there was a degree of due diligence that you did, that you were looking into the options, assessing the choices you had, and then making pretty open-eyed, conscious choices as you went forward.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It wasn't just an effort of inspiration without
No,
some,
no. You're
intellect behind
exactly
it.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Like I for sure, like as much as I could, like, if you really want to get started in this field, they always advise you go work in a bakery for a while. Right.
Yeah.
But there was nobody in my city doing what we were doing.
Right.
And at the time, my kids were, finishing up elementary school, going into high school, and we weren't going to go sell our house and move to a new city so I could make $15 an hour as a baker. Like, it
Right.
wasn't going to work.
Yeah. When we talked earlier, you had said something that stayed with me. You said, every time I start something new, I get clearer about what I want and who I am.
Yeah.
So from closing the bakery to the next steps, what did you get clearer about?
Oh, wow. Well, that's a really good question. Certainly my love of working with other people and serving other people, that I'm a people-centric person,
Yeah.
really was the thing. Even when I had the bakery, it was like, well, am I doing this because I want to be a master at this craft, or am I doing it to serve people? And what I've learned is I do things to serve people,
Yeah.
for sure. It's the bread was a vehicle to make connections with people.
Yeah.
And the reason I do it out of the backyard now is exactly the same thing. It's a vehicle to stay in touch with my friends and neighbors, and see them every week. And and check in, and how are they doing, and that kind of thing.
Talk about the expression, sitting down and breaking bread with people, right?
Yeah.
That's all about relationships.
Yeah, and exactly right. And that, look in their eyes and really see how it is they're doing, and not just making small talk, I guess, is the thing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so that was a big deal.
Yeah.
That was a big revelation for me.
It was.
Because,
Yeah.
Mark's the technology guy, or he's the bread guy, and it's like, I can geek out on that stuff and I love talking about it, but that's not really what gets me going.
Yes.
For sure.
It's a great distinction, though, I think, for our listeners to think about, thinking about the different choices you've made over the years, the different choices they've made over the years, and really kind of unpacking those choices and saying, I love geeking out, figuring out new recipes for bread, or how to work with the dough, or how to figure out a good IT problem. But, when push comes to shove, the thing that really floats my boat is the people interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You bet. And that's now I guess, almost the only criterion for new projects is, who am I going to be working with? Who are we going to serve? What's the good that we're going to bring? Yeah.
So what does that look like now? You closed the bakery 2016, is that right?
Yeah, well, end of 2015 we closed.
Okay. So it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, we went traveling for a bit, but Cindy and I did a 3-month tour of Europe, just with 2 carry-on bags and a day pack.
Wow.
And, and I visited, and not a word of a lie, between bakeries and the coffee shops with the little pastries, I'm pretty sure we did 200. We
Wow.
visited 200 over the 3 months because we were just going, and it was like an eating tour through through Southern Europe. It was the best.
Oh, it sounds great. It sounds
You
great. So
know,
that's at least two a day, right?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, there was always one for breakfast, and then on our walks around, we'd
Yeah.
stumble into a few more. Yeah,
Nice.
and then Cindy would in whatever language, whether it was Portuguese or Spanish or Italian, would try and tell the bakers that I was a baker, so that I could go in the back and look
Oh.
around. So quite several times, got to do that.
Oh, fun.
But then I got home, and quite honestly, I moped around for quite a while, like
Did you?
quite a few months. I didn't know what to do next.
Mm.
I worked as a baker a small restaurant for a former customer of mine for a few months,
Mhm.
and that it was fine, but it wasn't anything great.
Yeah.
And for me, what happened is I went through the Alt MBA program. The like
Ah,
Seth Godin's Alt
Seth
MBA
Godin.
program
Yeah.
would have been a year and a half ago now, and actually worked through, okay, what are those next projects that you really want to do? What are the
Mm.
things? And help me clarify in my own mind the things that we just talked about helping people. And I had this germ of an idea for a podcast with bakers, and so I
Mhm.
worked on that a lot during the workshop,
Mhm.
and just got to understand myself, and what kind of got me going a little bit more.
Mhm.
And so then, and that was really transformative. After that ended, very quickly got the podcast off the ground and started talking to my baker buddies again, and meeting
Mm.
new people. And then started the Right Company with my friend Bernadette Jiwa just a few months after that.
Mhm.
She had this idea for this online community and asked me to come on board and help her with that. So that's been the most fun.
So tell us more about the Right Company and what you and Bernadette are doing.
Sure. Sure. Well, so if you don't know Bernadette, she's an author and a writer, and she writes an awful lot about marketing, but more the story that you tell about your business, and it used to be called brand storytelling.
Ah.
Maybe it still is, right? I don't know.
Mhm.
But her thing was more, if your or our both of our premise is that if your business and the thing you're trying to build is really aligned with your own values and your own
Mhm.
purpose, then you will go far, and you will be successful, and you will be happy. And then last spring, we launched the online community for people that want to dig in more deeply, and it's not a course. We're sort of aware that there's an awful lot of course fatigue going on, where
Yeah.
there's so many online courses that you can take and stuff,
Yeah.
and so many timed workshops. Whereas this is just it's a quiet place to come amongst friends and work through these things and reflect on what it is you're trying to do. You
Yeah.
know
So you're really helping other people and they're helping each other.
exactly. Yeah.
And it sounds like you're kind of holding the container in which
Yeah.
community can be created, people can develop both, collegial, relationships,
Yeah.
friendships. So is there a content component that you provide for that community, or how does that work?
Oh yeah. No, good question. It's very low key content. I'm I hold the safe space for people.
Yeah.
I try and ask the questions to get them talking about what it is that they're working on. What are they struggling with?
Yeah.
And then I, through a newsletter and through what we call like conversation starters, will have
Mm.
sort of, here's a topic. What do you think? Here's a
Yeah.
so it's not so much a prompts that you're going to write a book about, but it's like, let's have a conversation about this. You
Right.
know,
Yeah. So who are your members? What kinds of people will join the Right Company?
it's folks from all over. We have owners of fairly large businesses, like
Mm.
multiple employees, multiple locations, that kind of a
Oh,
thing, right down to solopreneurs and artists and creative types. And
wow. So it's a big variety of people.
yeah, yeah. And so it's a very nice mix of people. And
Mm.
but I can say that the thing that they all have in common is everyone's searching for this really let's make a direct line towards the purpose. Let's not hide that this is why I'm doing it. And it doesn't
Right.
matter whether you're making, I don't know, stereo speakers or repairing cars or making silk scarves, right? You can,
Yeah.
it's like, what is it that I'm really trying to build?
So you have your bread baking on the
Yep.
weekend, right?
Yep.
Even in the winter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is,
yeah.
I'm trying to imagine what that would be like, but I know you told me that you do some of the work indoors to get the bread ready.
Yeah. The only thing
the oven is outside.
Yeah. The oven is outside. Yeah. And so loading and unloading the oven in the wintertime is rather interesting.
So in addition to the right company, there's some other things you're doing as well. So you have kind of I don't know why the word cornucopia comes to mind.
No,
but it's a blending of a number of different things. What else is on your plate these days?
Well, through my Alta MBA experience, I was really lucky. I was very honored. I got asked back to coach a couple sessions, and to be a coach, and through that experience met some other folks that were coaching. One of which, a lovely woman named Rebecca Channer, was starting a new company called ProsperCity, and this company has been dedicated really her whole life to fairness and equality and diversity and hiring and that kind of a thing. And so what ProsperCity does is to try to further that objective of getting rid of wage discrimination and really doing it at the point of hiring. What we've learned is that when I get a job offer, being a white male, when I get a job offer, I know that the first offer is an offer, and we're going to negotiate, and we're going to ask for what I want.
Yeah.
And in general terms, women and minorities and people of color don't. They say, okay, thank you very much.
Right.
Because they feel they have to. And so right from the first day you're in the door with the company, there's a gap, and it only gets worse. So what we're doing is by creating a place for job seekers and employers to meet, where salary ranges and salary expectations are displayed right up front when the job is offered. So none of this negotiable around based on experience kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then right away there's more information for the person getting hired. You're starting off on the same level playing field, and it's a good step for businesses that want to be inclusive to attract a more diverse employee base.
So you have both employers and job seekers that you work with.
Yeah, we're trying to match everyone, or the matchmakers, if you will.
Wow.
Through an online job board, and then an awful lot of working with companies to help them be more transparent, with how salary structures work.
So you've got several things working at the same time.
Yeah.
Right now. How does that work for you? How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm, to be honest with you, I'm probably at a point right now where it's something's going to have to give. I'm going to have to make some
capacity now, or a little.
I'm going to have to make some
capacity.
Decisions. Yeah. Especially as ProsperCity grows, it's an American company and founded in Portland and is expanding. We're trying to expand it throughout the U.S. and I'm up here in the prairies of Canada, right? So your listeners are probably asking, well, what the heck is he doing? I'm trying to where I help is on sort of the back office stuff, like the operations, the planning, the schedule, that kind of thing. Because the rest of the team, it's like feet on the ground, out working with American companies.
I see.
So I'm working from Saskatchewan as much as I can.
Right.
Same with the right company. It's all online.
Right. Right. So it sounds like you've got your priorities are lined up in a way that feels right to you at this point in your life.
Yeah. It's like I'm only 52, right? So I don't want to start talking about legacy.
Right.
But I will talk about impact and sort of where can I make the biggest impact now?
Yeah.
And for me, the work with the other owners with the right company, and solving a very real and very tangible social justice problem with ProsperCity.
Yeah.
Both of those are screaming to me that's high impact.
Yeah.
And so that's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah. I'm curious, as our listeners are listening to all the sort of thought processes and decisions and transitions that you've made, what would be your top keys to making transitions? How would you suggest somebody go about starting to think that through or taking that on in their lives?
Sure. Well, let me try and touch on two things. I think first off, there's probably something deep in your gut that you want to do really, really badly, and you're telling yourself a story why you can't.
Right.
Like with me with the bakery, it's like, who the heck am I to open up this bakery? Right.
Yeah.
Having never done this before, I'm not in the food industry. I work for a telecom, for crying out loud.
Right.
Now I'm going to open up a bakery. And you've got this perception of all the people in your current world saying, what the heck are you doing? Plus, when you leap into the new world, you got people saying, who are you? Right.
Right.
It doesn't happen like that. Like,
right.
that's a story we tell ourselves.
Right.
And so I guess that my advice with the transitions is there is going to be a leap involved. You're going to have to make a leap of faith. You can cover your bases as much as you can, but you can't live with one foot in both worlds forever. You know, the other one that comes to mind is just, and it's always an evolution, but back to that inside out, like understanding who you are and what really gets you going is the thing, right? We talked a lot about this, about the fact that I'm much more of a people person and much more of a service person than I thought. When I was working in IT in the 90s, right? Late 90s, everybody's trying to make, $1 billion really quick with the whole first .com wave and stuff, right? And I was thinking the same things, never did anything, but you're always, how can you get rich quick?
Yeah.
And what I found out for me is, for me, it's not about even getting rich. It's about the richness for me is the interpersonal connection, right? You realize that you don't need as much material stuff as you can do, or that was what I learned. I'm not saying everyone should be like that. I'm just saying that there's that formula for you.
Exactly.
What truly makes you happy.
Right.
And it's your own, and it can be unique, and it doesn't have to be what everyone else is telling you. Right. Like the peer pressure or the emotional craziness I went through to go part-time at SaskTel to ask for that when nobody did that. Was huge. Was the negative stories and the worry in my head was way out of proportion with what it really was, right?
Yeah.
Even the leap to open the bakery.
Yeah.
The worry and the risks that I thought I was taking was way out of proportion to the reality. And my dark period, when I was about 6 months after we got back from Europe, when I didn't know what to do next, the story I was telling myself was that the bakery was a failure. And it's like under no measuring stick was it a failure. The goodwill from customers was amazing. The quality of product and the way we made people feel and the way we treated employees and all of that stuff were just a raft of positives.
Right.
So the more that you can take that emotion out and look at what you're doing as a bet and saying, is this a good decision? Yes. Even if it doesn't work out, divorce yourself from the outcome.
Right.
But it's the right decision to do. Like I say, like ProsperCity is a startup, right? I want it to work. I'm convinced it'll work. It might not work, but I know for me right now, taking a real swing to make this thing work for people, it's a good bet. So I'm taking the bet, that kind of thing. And
my sense is that you're taking that bet knowing that I would regret it if I didn't.
You betcha.
And even if it doesn't turn out the way I hope it will,
Yeah.
I'm not going to have regrets about having given it a shot because I really believe in
For sure.
what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Mark, I want to thank you for your time today. This is
my pleasure.
Such a delight. And I love hearing about sort of the way that you've worked with yourself to move through these various parts of your life and different things you've done work-wise. And it's really exciting to see what's going to be next and for you and how things progress. It sounds like you have some amazing opportunities to grow both the right company and ProsperCity. So really exciting. And, if people want to get in touch with you and learn more about what you've been up to, what's a good way for them to find you?
Sure. Well, my website is markdyck.co. So markdyck.co.
Okay.
And, you can contact me through the website. Love to hear from folks.
Yeah.
For sure I would. And the website is really, here's everything that I'm doing these days, like that. And as that changes, the plan is the website changes because I really got tired of creating a new website every time I did a new project. So I was getting confused. So that I set that up as sort of my home base.
Yeah, that's great.
But, and just if I could, two things. First off, please, if anyone who's listening to this, please don't go away thinking, boy, that guy is sure confident, because I'm not. Every day I count myself as lucky that I get to, that I'm have these opportunities these days. But it's like, no, I'm scared to death every time, right? And that's normal, and honest, true, it really is. And then sort of the other thing I just wanted to say to you, Tammy, like, thank you for doing this. The whole, this idea of working from the inside out, I can honestly say 2-3 years ago, I wouldn't have known what the heck you were talking about. And
really,
and
okay.
You just hear the title and it's, yes, it is, because it truly is how you see the world and how you understand what gets you going.
Yeah.
And then going and finding that thing. Right. And you can tell yourself that you're trapped, but if you're listening to this, you're probably not trapped,
Right. Because you're open to some fresh ideas and other ways of looking at things. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So stay curious for sure.
Yeah. Everybody listen to Mark. Stay curious. Open and curious. Very important. Yeah.
Right.
Well, again, Mark, thank you so much. And thank you for joining us from a land far, far away from Boston. And we will look forward to seeing where things go.
Right on. Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Mark Dyck. It was such a pleasure to speak with him and learn about his personal and professional journey. What is your key takeaway from our conversation? Is there something you'll put into action this week that you'll benefit from for years to come? Share what resonated with you in the show notes at workfromtheinsideout.com. Look for episode 018. That's also where you'll find all the links and resources from today's podcast. If you enjoyed this episode with Mark, please share it with your friends and colleagues, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's show. Remember, subscribing is always free. Are you enjoying the podcast? I'd love to read your review on Apple Podcasts. It's easy to find my page at tammygoulerloeb.com/Apple. Thanks for listening. And remember, it's never too late or too impossible to increase your fulfillment and satisfaction in your work or other meaningful activities. Let me know how it's going for you. And who knows, maybe you'll be a guest on this podcast. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Work from the Inside Out podcast. For more information, you can find us at www.workfromtheinsideout.com.